Today we're going to be reading Daisy and the Trouble with Kittens by Kes Gray.
Part 2.
Yeah, part 2. And if you didn't know, I accidentally forgot to do the third chapter, but I'm going to read up to chapter 5. So I do 3 chapters.
You hope.
Yeah. Chapter 3. The trouble with waiting about 4.5 billion blimmin' weeks to go on holiday is it makes you go all trembly and excited, especially when you've found out where you're going. I thought we were going to Cornwall again, which is in England. So when my mum told me we were going to Spain, my eyeballs nearly popped out and rolled across the carpet. Spain isn't even in England. It's in a completely different country of the world. Plus, to get to Spain, you can't go in your car. You have to fly there in an actual aeroplane. An actual aeroplane that takes off and flies through the actual sky and goes above the actual clouds and everything. When I found I was going to be going on an actual aeroplane to actual Spain for my actual summer holiday, even my trembles got the trembles. Now don't get overexcited. Overexcited. Like you normally do, Daisy, said Mum. I know what happens when you get overexcited, but I couldn't stop myself. I rang my best friend Gabby straight away to tell her the news, but she wasn't in. So I ran all the way 3 doors up the road to my second best friend's, Dylan's house, to tell him instead. Dylan has been to loads of places in the world. He is 9 though, and he's got a snake. Dylan told me Turkey was good. Egypt was too hot. Clacton.
Is it Clacton?
Yeah, Clacton was wicked, especially the slot mentioned, but Spain was the definite best. Well, I can tell you what, I've actually been to Turkey once and it's really fun.
Yeah, you loved Turkey, didn't you?
Yeah, there's 3 swimming pools and loads of types of slides. Except from, this is really sad because Oasis has been shut down for good.
Swindon News update.
Yeah. My mum's holding the camera. And guess what? That's actually what Gabby said when I saw her too. Not about Turkey and Egypt and Clacton because she hadn't been there, but about Spain. Gabby had definitely been to Spain. She had photos and a Spanish teddy to prove it. The trouble with Spanish teddies is they're a bit stiff and not very cuddly. Plus, they don't look like teddies. They look more like cows. I don't think they like cows. Gabby said they don't have teddies that look like teddies in Spain. They only have teddies that look like black bulls or donkeys. Black bulls and stiff donkeys. I definitely wasn't going to spend my holiday money on a teddy like that. I wasn't going to spend it on something. I was going to spend it on something much better. Like a harpoon gun, maybe. A harpoon gun.
Mm.
Or a jet ski. Gabby told me that swimming pools in Spain had blow-up dolphins that you can sit on and splash. No, not... no. No, it doesn't say splash. And Spain had ice creams with
Gobstoppers.
Gobstoppers full of bubble gum in them. So then I got even more excited, but I still had ages to wait, which made me get even more excited. Then Mum showed me a picture of the hotel where we'd be staying. And the beach we would be going to. And the swimming pool we would be swimming in. And the slide I would be sliding down. And the shell. And then she showed me where Spain was on the map. And then a few days later, she bought me a new swimming costume. And the next week, she bought me some new flip-flops. And the next week after that, she bought me some special sun cream that would make my face turn blue. No. And then the week after that, it was almost time to go. By the time we started doing the proper actual packing, my trembles were nearly shaking. I was so excited. I can't believe it. That took a lot of pages to get to chapter 4 right now. Chapter 4. The trouble with suitcases is they won't shut. Not if you put too many things in them. They won't. Mum said our suitcase would shut, but she was definitely wrong. Even when she bounced up and down on it, our red suitcase wouldn't close. Sit on it with me, Daisy, she said. So I did. But we bounced up and down to make it close. The sunscreen got squashed and squirted all over the bed. Luckily it wasn't my special blue sun cream, because I was going to need that for doing scary faces on holiday. But Mum still wasn't very happy. Then she tried putting the suitcase on the floor and standing on it. But standing on it didn't work either, so she tried jumping on it. That wouldn't work. But this time the handle on her hairbrush snapped, and then when she jumped up and down the next time, the heel broke off one of her favourite shoes. She has got a lot of shoes and socks. I said she didn't need 8 pairs of shoes to go on holiday, but Mum said she needed 8 pair for every day. We were going to be there, plus a pair for emergencies. So if she loses all of them, she still has 1 pair. So I asked if I could take my bike for emergencies too, but she said no. Then she opened the suitcase and started taking all my things out. Well, not all my things. She left all my holiday clothes inside, but she took out all my toys, including my rollerblades and my giant super soaker water pistol. Mum said rollerblades wouldn't work on sand, and if I wanted to super soak someone on holiday, that I could splash them with water instead. So I said some of her shoes wouldn't work on sand either, especially the ones with high heels. Plus, about 8 of the dresses wouldn't work on sand either. Mum said they weren't meant to work on sand, they were meant to work on dance floors. In the end, we gave up sitting and bouncing and jumping on our red suitcase and borrowed an extra one from Nanny and Grumpy instead. Not a red one, a brown one with a squeaky wheel. That night, Mum said I could pull some extra toys in my school rucksack too, as long as I promised to carry it all the way to Spain. That's the trouble with carrying rucksacks. You can never get anyone to carry them for you. So I only put a pad in and some comics to read on a plane, plus my smallest teddy and smashless giraffe. Smashless, I don't know what that says.
Small and a smallish, is that what
And
it
a
said?
smallish giraffe. Then once I added my pencil case and my favourite keyring, with a monkey on it, I was all packed and ready to go. Then I started to feel really, really, really excited. Mum, can I? No, you can't stay up late, said my mum before I'd even got a chance to finish what I was saying. The taxi will be picking us up at 3 a.m. to take us to the airport tomorrow. Daisy, she told me, I want you to have an early night tonight. That's the trouble with my mum. She always knows that I'm going to say next. Well, nearly almost always. And can I you what? Asked my mum. And can I sleep in my clothes? I asked. Please, Mum, let me sleep in my clothes. Then I'll be all ready to go on holiday the moment you wake me up. The trouble with me saying, can I, is nearly always my mum says no. Like my mum says, she's always a bit harsh on me. Oh, that's
So
weird.
rude.
I already checked.
Is that it?
No.
Oh.
I said I'd read chapter 5.
Oh, did you?
Because I didn't read chapter 3.
Is this chapter 5 now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
But guess what? This time she didn't say no. She said yes. Good idea, Daisy, she said. Anything that saves time in the morning is a good idea in my books. Plus, can I? What's now? Asked Mum, with a bit of a frown on her face this time. Plus, please, can I drive the aeroplane tomorrow? I asked. No, you can't, Daisy, she said. 7 years old do not drive aeroplanes to Spain. Well, it was worth a try. Chapter 5. The trouble with taxis is they are always late. It was 3:10 the next morning. I had got up, eaten my breakfast, brushed my hair, cleaned my teeth, put my trainers on, zipped up my rucksack, unzipped my rucksack to check my monkey keyring was in there, zipped my rucksack up again, unzipped it again to check I'd put a rubber in my pencil case, zipped it up again, unzipped it again to talk to my teddy, zipped it up again, put my jacket on, put my rucksack on, my back taken my rucksack off, my back to see if my monkey key ring was still in there, put my rucksack on again, walked round and round the lounge at least 15 times, and then taxi still hadn't arrived. Mum was starting to get a bit fidgety too, but as she picked up the phone to find out where it was, the taxi pulled up outside our house. At last, she said. Come on, Daisy, it's time to go. The taxi driver got off his car to help Mum with a suitcase. It really was dark and exciting outside our house. Everyone in the whole street was asleep except for me and Mum. Even the birds were still asleep. I gotta do these 2 pages, and I think maybe the one of... Oh gosh, I got a lot of pages. When we drove past Dylan's house, I looked up at his bedroom curtains and imagined him snoring in his bed. Then I imagined his pet snake shooter curled up on his head, on his heat pads too. Being the only one awake in the street was really... I can't say it. Really...
Yeah.
Really exciting. When we got to a bigger road, we saw that other people in England were awake too. Not many, but at least 12. I asked my mum if she thought they were all going on a summer holiday too. She said some might. Wait, where was that? I lost it. Me too. She said that some might be, but most were probably going to work or coming home from work. I didn't know people went to do jobs that early in the morning or came home from them that late. Mum said the milkmen do very early jobs so that when she puts the milk on your doorstep, they can make sure it's nice and fresh. That's the trouble with milk. If you don't keep it fresh, it goes all lumpy and mouldy, and it smells. I sniffed some mouldy milk when I was round at Gabby's house once, and both our noses nearly fell off. It was so stinky. Now we only sniff nice things like Play-Doh. Play-Doh is actually kind of nice when you smell it. It just smells like clay, but a little bit squishier and stickier. The trouble with my mum at 3:30 in the morning if she doesn't want to play games or anything. I thought playing games in the taxi would be really exciting, but Mum just said that she was too tired. Then she said, "Daisy, we've got a long day ahead. Why don't you close your eyes and try to get some more sleep before we get to the airport?" Sleep? When you're going on an airport? How could anyone possibly sleep when they are in an actual taxi going to the actual airport with an actual airplane that's going to fly you all the way to actual Spain?
Well, you couldn't sleep, could you?
I couldn't even close my eyes, so I played I Spy on my own. The trouble with playing I Spy on your own is you always know the answer. So you can't play it with one person. I always play it with at least 4 people, but since my brother's gone, I only have 3 people to do it with. So I counted lampposts instead. The trouble with counting lampposts is there are too many, so I counted horses instead. The trouble with counting horses is there weren't any, so I imagined I was Spanish instead. That's like the weirdest thing ever. The trouble with imagining you're Spanish is it's really hard if you haven't been to Spain before. I could imagine where I lived. I lived in this smallish castle with palm trees and coconuts in the garden. It was very hot. The sun was always shining and the sky was really blue, but my face was even bluer because of my sun cream. I had 2 pets. My black bull was called Blackie and my donkey was called Giddy Up. Plus, my name wasn't Daisy. It was Daisiella. Because in Spanish, children are only allowed to have Spanish-sounding names. My best friend were called Gabriella instead of Gabby, and Pete instead of Dylan.
Pepe.
Pepe instead of Dylan. My favourite food was sausage jellies with tomatoes sauce. My favourite drink was fizzy orangella, and my favourite crisp was smoky
Baconella.
But after that I couldn't think of anything else Spanish, so I watched my mum dribble instead. That's what my mum always does.
What? I've never heard it.
Yeah, you do. She does it like 2,000 times a day.
Yeah, I'm sat here dribbling right now.
Yep, she is dribbling right now. The trouble with dribble is it always comes out when you're asleep. I don't know why, because if you go to sleep, then your dribble should go to sleep too, really, but it doesn't. At least my mum's dribble doesn't. My mum's dribble goes really dribbly when she is asleep, especially when she starts snoring. The trouble with snoring is when they get to be big snores, they sound like a pig eating porridge. My mum
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, my mum does that all the time, but I only do little snores, so you can't hear it. And they make your dribble wobble. I thought the taxi driver might crash the car when Mum started dribbling and snoring, so I gave her a nudge with my elbow. The trouble with nudging someone with your elbow is it makes them jump if they're asleep, and it makes them dribble go all over their face. My mum always happens to do that. So this is a quite similar book to mine. Mum whipped her dribble.
Whipped?
Yeah, it says
Wiped?
Yeah. Mum wiped her dribble off really quickly, sat up straight and pretended she hadn't been asleep in the first place, but I couldn't see her eyes closing again in the reflection in the taxi window, so I didn't nudge her again after that, not until we arrived at the airport. Okay, if you like this video, click that like button where you can just click wherever you want on the screen, and if you want to subscribe, just subscribe anywhere on the screen. Bye!